Councillor Penner, thank you so much for sitting down with me and chatting at the FCM convention. What brings you to Ottawa for the FCM convention as a City of Calgary councillor?
Yeah. Hey, Chris, how are you today?
Not bad.
Good. I just wanted to check, before we get going.
It's what we do best here.
Yeah. So FCM is always a really great opportunity not only to connect with my peers from across the province who also travel here, but get to speak with other councillors and representatives from across the country to understand the issues that we're facing, where there's similarities, and maybe where there's some opportunities to think about how we solve the challenges together.
And what are the similarities that you're hearing here today in Ottawa that are similar in Calgary?
Yeah, so a couple things that are really standing out for me. So one is housing. So even though there's not a lot of panels on housing, I think everyone's top of mind about housing. I think the other thing is across the province right now, there's a number of municipalities who are evacuating for wildfires. And so while that may not affect Calgary directly, Calgary has often been the reception center for many of those communities, as we've seen. And so I think actually the collective acknowledgement around the climate crisis, about the changing nature of our weather patterns, of fires in particular, and how we're going to address those. What we've heard also is like the role and the responsibility of the federal government to step up and support those communities. So that's an important part of the conversation as well.
This is the first convention after when it was held in downtown Calgary. We're here, and the new man on the block, Prime Minister Mark Carney, gave his address to delegates yesterday, the very first day. What did you hear from Mark Carney that you can feel a little bit optimistic about heading back to Calgary, knowing that this is a new government, same party, new government, but new Prime Minister as well? Yeah,
so one of the great things that the Prime Minister is talking about is modular housing, and actually this is something that Calgary is leading on, in particular our wholly owned subsidiary Attainable Homes, and they have partnered with ATCO Structures to be doing actually on the ground builds of modular housing in Calgary. So there's one site that's going to start that's in production actually right now at ATCO Structures facility in Calgary, and the boxes will be dropping in the summer. And then there's another one that is planned. And so we actually already have expertise in this area around modular housing. ATCO Homes, which is another like arm's length of ATCO, is doing some work with a production facility in Lethbridge. And so Alberta is actually really, really poised to lead on this. And then when I think about the ability, how do we transport that? Calgary is moving forward on Prairie Economic Gateway, which is an inland port. So when we think about the ability to either co-locate production or to move that production across the country of modular housing, we really stand to benefit as a city and really teach the rest of the country what we can do.
What do you take back? So you're heading back to Calgary. It's probably the same time that I'm heading back to Calgary. What do you take back to ensure that you're not just networking here, but you're bringing back real solutions to help your community? Because some residents may say, oh, those politicians are just going to Ottawa to get drunk and do what they need to do. But you're here on the ground and actually attending some of these sessions. What do you bring back to ensure that the conversation doesn't end once you get on the plane?
Yeah, well, someone who doesn't drink, no one has to worry about that for me. I think the conversations that I take away is that solutions are created when municipalities are having conversations together, when we are all gathered and having conversations, and when we're supporting each other. So whether it's like helping drive the narrative and the conversation around removing provincial trade barriers, what we also heard is those relationships need to happen with our counterparts in the U.S. too. So we had a great panel on that yesterday as well. And so really just the strength of those relationship buildings, the relationship building is what is important. And actually, I haven't been to the session yet, but I'm going to one of the egg sessions this afternoon. Calgary, of course, is well poised and some opportunities in agri-food and agri-tech. And so also looking at how we involve industry and how we involve like private entities in the building out of both our physical buildings, but also our economies as well.
Final question. It's a political one, but I think you're ready for it because you're a representative of Alberta municipalities as well. But what does the city of Calgary get from coming to these events that you couldn't do on your own? Because there might be people who say, what's the point of being part of FCM? So what do you say to those people, and what is the benefit for the city of Calgary to be here?
Yeah, I think it's perspective, and both in the similarities that we share with other municipalities, but also the challenges that other municipalities are facing, in particular smaller municipalities. This convention's really highlighted rural and remote communities and the challenges that they're facing. And so how as a city can we share our expertise and knowledge in leading on that? So I also went to a session on urban reserves, and that is going to be a big thing that's going to be coming up for Calgary. So also the reconciliation standpoint and how we support prosperity for all is really critical and important. And so that is something that I can't necessarily do on my own, but having a venue like this where, I don't have my name tag on, but we can see where each other is from. And then I think...
And are you getting conversations out of other cities similar size to Calgary saying, oh,
yeah,
you're dealing with the same issue, let's try and...
It's actually probably the number one thing I've heard was Calgary hosted a great convention last year. and remembering that convention was actually held and it started the day that the water main broke. So maybe it's just the fact that we had more coffee than they have here. No shame, Ottawa, but seriously, severe lack of coffee. But I actually just think elected leaders at the municipal level realize how close we are to the people, how we're dealing with some of the same challenges and issues, and just the camaraderie that comes through the support here is really important. And I would say the other one that, climate has been a big one, right? We saw in the resolutions session, someone tried to remove climate adaptation from one of the resolutions, and it was overwhelmingly voted down. So I think also the recognition of the issues that are facing Canadians and a deep willingness to support and help and move through and have those conversations at the policy level with both our provincial governments, but also with the federal government.
Councillor Penner, always a pleasure to sit down with you.
Thanks, Chris.